Thanks to Indochino for keeping Legal Eagle in the air and helping me look fly. Hey Legal Eagles, it's time to think like a lawyer, and I am incredibly excited to have the famous H-Bomber guy with us today. Why don't we talk a little bit about your channel itself? You have just exploded in popularity as being some of the best social commentary on YouTube and one of the best Donkey Kong players, I suppose, that's out there.
Well, technically I'm one of the worst. I just eventually managed to do it.
Well, you know, depends on what the ultimate goal is. Is it to beat the game, or is it to do it in a very, very difficult way, in the most amusing way possible?
I guess there's that, yeah.
And well, one thing that I think was amazing is, I guess, AOC commented on your live stream, right?
Yeah. People were joking about getting her on, and I thought, oh, that's quite fun. But then an account that was AOC joined the call, and it was actually her voice, and I lost my mind.
Hello?
Hi. It's fantastic to meet you. Would you like to introduce yourself in case some people don't know who you are?
Oh, my name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I am the Congresswoman for New York's 14th Congressional District.
And now, like, Bernie Sanders is doing streaming, so clearly people following suit. I started a trend in left-wing American politics by accident while trying to make fun of a former comedian in Britain, but these things happen.
And how much did you raise for charity?
About $330,000.
That's incredible. So, what kind of legal questions can I help answer for you?
Well, I was wondering, on behalf of semi-political YouTubers, how can one broach important and contentious topics with people who might sometimes be litigious without putting themselves at legal risk?
I can't imagine that you ever run into these kind of issues on YouTube.
This is purely hypothetical.
Yeah, absolutely. Understandable. I mean, none of us have ever run into these kind of issues. What's interesting from my perspective is that the US and the UK have very different defamation laws when it comes to talking about individuals and corporations and where the line is in terms of what is commentary and what crosses the line into a defamatory statement. And traditionally, there's been a difference between libel, which is written, and slander, which is spoken. And these days, that distinction doesn't really matter anymore. As an American lawyer, I'm not an expert in the UK, but what I can tell you is that in the US at least, when you are talking about these kind of commentary issues where you run into defamation, the key is that defamation only applies to a provable statement of fact that is false. So you know, it's most people know that at least in the US, and this is not true in all countries, that truth is a defense to defamation. But the underlying statement itself has to be a provable statement of fact. So it can't be an opinion, it can't be hyperbole, it can't be ridiculousness and parody. There's a famous case in the US where the pornographic magazine Penthouse, owned by Larry Flynt, did a spread about Jerry Falwell losing his virginity and all the ridiculous hijinks that ensued, and he sued for defamatory purposes. And the court held, basically as a matter of law, that it was so ridiculous that no one would have believed that A, Jerry Falwell gave this interview to Penthouse, and B, that he actually did these things in the course of losing his virginity. So really, the more ridiculous something is, that almost becomes more of a defense. Even when you start edging into the realm of things that are factual in nature. At least on YouTube, the kind of commentary that you see most often is things that are people's opinion. You might call someone a jerk, or much worse, but it's really when you get into these discrete pieces of factual information that are factually wrong that you have an issue. And I don't know if you're familiar with the extra standard of a celebrity, but in the US, if you are someone of notoriety and a certain amount of celebrity, you actually have to show that the person, when they made the false statement of fact, that they knew it was false, and they said it with what's called malicious intent. So that becomes even more difficult when you're talking about, say, politicians or famous billionaires.
I can see now why certain politicians will cover themselves by saying, well, to the best of my knowledge, so they're not obviously lying, or they'll only provide facts that support their beliefs, and just those facts. And they're not lying, they're just only sharing very careful versions of the truth.
Right, exactly. And even in the context of politicians, we've seen several defamation lawsuits against President Trump at the moment. He is currently in a lawsuit with a woman named Summer Zervos, who has said that the president defamed her by saying that he did not engage in certain sexual activities with her and called her a liar. And that's going to be somewhat of a groundbreaking lawsuit, because it's going to be a question of whether she's a private person or someone of note, whether the president is a private person or not. I mean, usually they are not considered private. They have that amount of celebrity. Yeah. And whether his statement of saying that she was a liar is something that is a provable statement of fact, or whether that's hyperbole and an opinion.
I remember a suit where, do you know Jim Sterling?
I do, yes.
He was sued for $15 million or something by someone on account of libel, slander, various stuff like that. It was an equivalent sort of suit. And one of the things they listed as one of the grievances was, at some point he said, there's not enough popcorn in the world to sort of laugh at this person for how dumb they're being. And this was put in the suit as like a quote as one of the grievances.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things they were considering doing was challenging them to prove that there wasn't enough popcorn in the world.
I'm guessing Jim Sterling probably won that lawsuit.
It got dropped with prejudice, I believe, in the end.
Okay, yeah. If it was dismissed by the court on the substance of the issue, then likely they can't bring it up again.
Oh, good. It's good to hear. Sometimes I make factual statements, and then, because we're not perfect, you discover later that some of the facts you've mentioned are themselves selective or mistakes or wrong. In which case I have, in a sense, told a lie. Like, is there a legal precedent for someone saying a falsehood and getting in trouble for saying it, even if they believed it at the time?
Well, that's a great question, and that partially hinges on the nature of the person that is spoken about. There's no cause of action for just saying a falsehood in public. Defamation applies to when you are directing a false statement of fact towards an individual person that harms their reputation. So an innocent mistake of merely saying something that was incorrect, but you thought it to be true, if you're talking about someone that is a celebrity or of note, likely that is not grounds for defamation, because you have to meet that extra hurdle to get into the actual malice standard when you're talking about a celebrity.
I see, that's great. One more question.
Please.
I have a question about the definition, if there's a proper legal definition of the concept of being libel-proof. In the sort of anime voice acting scene, there's currently a spurious lawsuit by a certain voice actor against the company for supposed libel. And the counter-argument that the company is making is that this person is effectively impossible to do libel towards, because they have done so many other things that at this point it's barely making anything up to assert certain things.
Yes, so that is a potential defense that a court can find that what would normally be a defamatory statement is not defamatory in this context, because their reputation is so bad, it can't get any worse. Harry, thank you so much for joining this episode of the yet-to-be-named Legal Eagle interview show.
Thank you for having me.
And if you could, pass the information along to AOC, and we'll get her on the hot seat for the next one.
That'd be really great to hear, but I think the owners of this house are coming back, so we should probably get out of here.
All right, let's get out of here then.
Harry, thanks for doing the interview, and thanks for dressing up for the occasion. No, look, I love the robe over the pajamas look, but, maybe for next time you'd like something a little bit nicer, like a, custom-made suit? Indochino. If you're looking for an awesome slim-cut suit, I can't recommend Indochino highly enough. And as you know, all of my suits are now made by Indochino, including this jacket that I'm wearing right now, which was custom-made just for me. See, the secret to a great suit is all about the fit, and as you can tell, since we're actually in person, physically talking to each other, I'm a reasonably athletic guy, and the problem is I can never buy suits off the rack because they simply just never fit right. But with Indochino, you can send in your measurements online, or you can go to one of their stores and have a stylist take your measurements. I made an appointment, went to a store in person, and had a stylist work with me for over 90 minutes when I went in for the first time. My personal stylist took my measurements, and a couple of weeks later, I got the best fitting suit of my entire life. It was perfect right out of the box. You could even get measured in the pajamas that you're wearing right now as you're listening to what I am telling you in person. Indochino will make you a fully custom tailored suit specifically for you for less than $400. And the best part is they still use the best materials like Super 130 wool and cashmere. In fact, I asked Indochino to give Legal Eagles specifically the best deal possible, and they're giving you guys, meaning Harry, the exclusive ability to buy any premium suit for just $359. That is the best deal you can find anywhere. I will never buy an off-the-rack suit again. Once you try it, neither will you. Legal Eagles can get any premium Indochino suit for just $359 when you enter the code LegalEagle at checkout or use the link in the description. Clicking on the link really helps out this channel. That's Indochino.com, promo code LegalEagle for the best custom suit of your entire life.